Welcome to the News Hour. President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu announced a plan today.
President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu announced a plan today
To end the war in Gaza.
to end the war in Gaza.
But Hamas has yet to agree.
But Hamas has yet to agree.
And there are questions about its implementation.
And there are questions about its implementation.
Nick Schifrin begins our coverage.
Nick Schifrin begins our coverage.
Today at the White House, a presidential pronouncement of the end of an era.
Today at the White House, a presidential pronouncement of the end of an era. 今天在白宫，总统宣布了一个时代的结束。
This is eternity. This is for.
This is eternity. This is for forever. 这就是永恒，这将持续到永远。Eternity, 永恒。
Forever.
It has been 724 days since Hamas's October 7th terrorist attack.
It has been 724 days since Hamas' October 7th terrorist attacks.
724 days of war in Gaza.
724 days of war in Gaza.
And if Hamas accepts this deal, the guns would fall silent within 72 hours.
And if Hamas accepts this deal, the guns would fall silent within 72 hours.
There shouldn't have to be a shot fired. It may be for eternity.
There shouldn't have to be a shot fired, maybe for eternity.
I support your plan to end the war in Gaza.
I support your plan to end the war in Gaza,
which achieves our war aims.
which achieves our war aims.
It will bring back to Israel all our hostages, dismantle Hamas's military.
It will bring back to Israel all our hostages, dismantle Hamas military
capabilities, end its political rule,
and its political rule,
and ensure that Gaza never again poses a threat to Israel.
and ensure that Gaza never again poses a threat to Israel.
In a 20-point plan released by the White House, the deal
In a 20-point plan released by the White House,
would release all 50 Israeli hostages currently in Gaza, both dead and alive.
Israel hostages currently in Gaza, both dead and alive.
Israeli soldiers would withdraw
Israeli soldiers would withdraw
in phases, marked in a White House map, but
in phases marked in a White House map.
Remain in what the plan calls a security buffer zone.
But remain in what the plan calls a security buffer zone.
Gaza will be demilitarized.
Gaza will be demilitarized.
Israel will retain security responsibility.
Israel will retain security responsibility. 以色列将保留安全责任，
including a security perimeter for the foreseeable future.
including a security perimeter for the foreseeable future. 在可预见的未来，还包括设立一个安全边界。Perimeter, security perimeter, 安全边界。
But the plan declares, quote, the conditions may finally be in place.
But the plan declares, quote, the conditions may finally be in place
For a credible pathway to Palestinian self-determination and statehood.
There are many Palestinians who wish to live in peace.
There are many Palestinians who wish to live in peace.
Many.
Many.
I've seen so many of them.
I have seen so many of them.
And they have support.
And they have support.
And I challenge the Palestinians to take responsibility for their destiny, because
Palestinians to take responsibility for their destiny. Take responsibility for their destiny. 对他们的命运负责。
That's what we're giving them.
Because that's what we are giving them.
Hamas would not be allowed to govern Gaza.
Hamas would not be allowed to govern Gaza.
And fighters who renounced violence would receive amnesty.
And fighters who renounced violence would receive amnesty. 而那些放弃暴力的战士将获得大赦。
Foreign troops would provide security and train Palestinian police.
Foreign troops would provide security and train Palestinian police.
And until the Palestinian Authority, quote,
and until the Palestinian Authority, quote,
has completed its reform program, Gaza would be run by a transitional body called the Board of Peace, chaired by
a transitional body called the Board of Peace, chaired
by President Trump,
and
including former British Prime Minister Tony Blair.
And including former British Prime Minister Tony Blair.
The PA could have no role whatsoever in Gaza without undergoing a radical.
The PA could have no role whatsoever in Gaza without undergoing radical
and genuine transformation.
and a general transformation.
And that means ending pay to slay, changing the poisonous textbooks that
And that means ending pay to slay. 这意味着终止杀人领赏的做法。Changing the poisonous textbooks. 更换有毒的教科书。
teach hatred to Jews,
Teach hatred to Jews,
to Palestinian children,
to Palestinian children,
stopping incitement in the media,
stopping incitement in the media, 停止媒体的煽动行为
ending lawfare against Israel at the ICC, the ICJ, recognizing the Jewish state, and many, many other reforms.
recognizing the Jewish state and many, many other reforms.
Regional officials tell PBS NewsHour tonight that Qatar and
Regional officials tell PBS NewsHour tonight that Qatar
Turkey are
and Turkey
pressuring Hamas to accept the deal.
are pressuring Hamas to accept the deal.
But if they don't, Israel will proceed with its current plans to take over Gaza City.
Israel will proceed with its current plans to take over Gaza City.
I have a feeling that we're going to have a positive answer.
I have a feeling that we are going to have a positive answer.
But if not,
But if
as
not,
you know, baby,
as you not,
you'd
baby,
have our full backing to do what you would have to do.
you have more full backing to do what you would have to do.
This can be done the easy way,
This can be done the easy way,
or it can be done the hard way.
or it can be done the hard way.
But it will be done.
But it will be done.
So far in Gaza, it has been the hard way.
So far in Gaza, it has been the hard way.
There's destruction
There's
as
destruction
far as the eye can see.
as far as the eye can see,
And the sky today is scattered with cautions.
and the sky today is scattered with cautions. And the sky today is scattered with cautions. 而今天的天空布满了警示
Israeli messages
Israeli messages
urging Gazans
urging
to
Gazans
evacuate.
to evacuate.
Satellite images show Israel is razing what's left of Gaza City.
Satellite images show Israel is razing what's left of Gaza City. 卫星图像显示，以色列正在夷平加沙城警城的部分。
That's Sheikh Radwan neighborhood,
That's Sheikh Radwan neighborhood.
once a densely populated area,
Once a densely populated area,
now flattened.
now flattened.
Today, from Gazans, we heard desperate skepticism.
Today from Gazans, we heard desperate skepticism. 今天我们在加沙听到了绝望的批评声 desperate skepticism.
They negotiate,
They
and
negotiate,
we are living under the fire,
and we are living under the fire,
under oppression and injustice.
under oppression and injustice.
Every day, Gaza
Every
is
day,
being annihilated, and the unjust world watches us. Until when?
Gaza is being annihilated, and the unjust world watches us until when? 加沙已被摧毁，这个不公正的世界要袖手旁观到何时？
We're dying for God's sake.
We are dying for God's sake. We are dying for God's sake. We are dying for God's sake. 看在上帝的份上，我们都快不行了。
As you can see this destruction.
As you can see this destruction.
Who will rebuild this destruction?
Who will rebuild this
Who
destruction?
will?
Who
Who
will?
will do this to Gaza?
Who will do this to Gaza?
That is an understatement.
That is an understatement. 这种说法太轻描淡写了。
The end of the war will require seemingly
The end of the war will require seemingly
insurmountable rebuilding.
insurmountable rebuilding. 难以逾越的重建工作。
Assuming the two sides can finally end this war.
Assuming the two sides can finally end this war. 假设双方最终能够结束一切，这场战争。
Tonight, two regional officials confirmed that Qatar and Egypt have
Tonight, two regional officials confirmed that Qatar and Egypt have
formally presented the plan to Hamas.
formally presented the plan to Hamas.
There's been no response yet,
There has been no response
but
yet.
Hamas would have to release all of the hostages before a full Israeli
And Hamas will have to release all of the hostages before a full Israeli withdrawal.
That is not something that Hamas has been willing to accept so far.
That is not something that Hamas has been willing to accept so far.
Nick, I know you've been also reporting on the fact that during the meeting
Nick, I know you have been also reporting on the fact that during the
at the
meeting
White House, the
at the White
president
House,
facilitated a phone call.
the president facilitated a phone call. 总统促成了一次电话通话。
Tell us about that and why it matters.
Tell us about that and why it matters.
Yeah, an extraordinary phone call between the prime ministers of Israel and Qatar.
Yes, an extraordinary phone call between the prime ministers of Israel and Qatar.
3 weeks after Israel bombed Qatar's capital, Doha.
Some 3 weeks after Israel bombed Qatar's capital, Doha,
Aiming for but missing Hamas's political leaders.
aiming for but missing Hamas political leaders.
And today in the Oval Office, President Trump calling Doha's prime minister with Bibi Netanyahu in the room, and Netanyahu said he, quote, regrets that
And Netanyahu said he, quote, regrets
Qatari was killed in the attack and quote, has no plan to violate your sovereignty again.
quote, has no plan to violate your sovereignty again.
Steve Witkoff, the ambassador tonight, called that an apology.
Steve Witkoff, the ambassador tonight, called that an
It certainly
apology.
was a rare mea culpa.
It certainly was a real mea culpa. It certainly was a real mea culpa.
From Netanyahu
From Netanyahu
on the very day that he agreed to the president's peace plan, despite the fact that
on the very day that he agreed to the president's peace plan, despite the
he has been
fact
saying that he would handle Hamas once and for all on the battlefield.
he has been saying that he would handle Hamas once and for all on the battlefield. He has been saying that he would handle Hamas once and for all on the battlefield. 他一直表示他会在战场上一劳永逸地对付哈马斯。
Nick Schifrin reporting tonight on our lead story from the White House.
Nick Schifrin reporting tonight on our lead story from the
Nick,
White
thank
House.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
For more on all of this, we turn now to two NewsHour regulars. That is David Makovsky of the Washington Institute for Near East Policy and Hussein Ibish of the Arab Gulf States Institute in Washington, D.C. Welcome to you both, gentlemen. David, kick us off here. Tell us why Netanyahu would agree to this particular plan and why right now when it could jeopardize his own governing coalition back in Israel.
When it could jeopardize his own governing coalition back in Israel. 而这此举可能会危及他在以色列国内的执政联盟。
Look, I think Netanyahu had to balance a lot of different things. First, Israel is more isolated than it has been. He knows there will not be a better deal than he would get one with them with Donald Trump. I think he doesn't want to miss that moment. He doesn't want to put more strain on U.S.-Israel relations, as President Trump has made clear he does want to end the war. And also, he's aware that the sequencing of this 20-point U.S. initiative avoids a certain political tripwires for him.
Sequencing of this 20-point U.S. initiative avoids a certain political trip wires for him. 而美国这20点倡议的推行顺序帮他避开了某种政治导火索。
They do not force him to bring the Palestinian Authority from Ramallah in the West Bank to Gaza.
They do not force him to bring the Palestinian Authority from Ramallah in the West Bank. 这些举措不会迫使他将位于约旦和西岸拉姆安拉的巴勒斯政权机构牵涉进来。
The issue of negotiations over two states is finessed and
The issue of negotiations over two states is finessed. 关于两国间的谈判问题展现出他处理事务的手段和技
with
巧。
wording that I think he could live with. He knows that his rivals will try to use anything against him within the coalition, and this could bring down his government. Until now, he has avoided that to do anything that would threaten his coalition. But elections are due in a year from now at the latest. And he may feel that if faced between Trump and his own coalition, he's going to choose Trump. And I think he also feels that there were certain contentious points within the 20 points that were kind of resolved in his benefit. So I think if you take that all together, you see a prime minister who is not just sounding like yes, but at this point, hoping that Hamas will torpedo the deal for him.
hoping that Hamas will torpedo the deal for him. 希望哈马斯替他破坏这个。
Let
But
me,
I think, you know,
David, if I
he's
may,
putting the primacy
let
on
me
Trump.
bring in Hussein on that point.
So
Then you make the segue for me, Hussein. What now with Hamas? The plan sits with them.
yeah,
Trump has said if they don't accept it, Israel has his permission to quote unquote finish the job. Are they incentivized to join on the plan?
what
Are they incentivized to join on the plan? 参与该计划有激励
whatever
吗？
that means. Yeah, I mean, I have no idea what finish the job means. Nobody knows, least of all the Israeli military, which will be handed the job, which they don't want, because they don't have a mission that can be described in any coherent, intelligible sense.
Because they don't have a mission that can be described in any coherent, intelligible sense. 因为他们没有任何能以连贯、易读、易懂的方式描述清楚任务。
But look, the earlier drafts of this document that I have had described to me in detail by people who know about it, and diplomats who are very familiar with earlier drafts, was a lot more reasonable towards Hamas and towards the Palestinians. Essentially, Netanyahu has convinced Trump to water this agreement down.
Essentially, Netanyahu has convinced Trump to water this agreement down. 从本质上，内塔尼亚胡除掉哈马斯是为了说服特朗普削弱这项协议。
As David said, finesse.
As David said, finesse.
Issues like the Palestinian right to a state, which is something Israel has never recognized ever, down to the point of meaninglessness. It is basically an instrument of unconditional surrender.
It's basically an instrument of unconditional surrender, with one exception. 它基本上是一份除了一个例外情况外就等于无条件投降的文书。
With one exception, which is the release of prisoners.
Which is the release of prisoners.
That it's specific about that. Everything else is pretty well laid open to the voluntary action of Israel to, go according to its own judgment.
Pretty well laid open to the voluntary action of Israel to go according to its own judgment。在很大程度上是让以色列可以根据自身判断自行采取自愿行动。
And I think it's going to therefore be very difficult for Hamas to agree to this. They might have agreed to an earlier version because they have their eyes set on the West Bank rather than Gaza, and political power among Palestinians rather than this endless war with Israel they've gotten into. So I think they might well have agreed to the earlier versions, but Netanyahu took out everything that might have been appealing to them. And I agree, he's relying on them to torpedo this.
Relying on them to torpedo this， 依靠他们去破坏。
And I think it would be kind of dumb for them to do it because they
So,
say yes and
Hussein, if I
put him
may,
in the
am I
spot
hearing
would
you
be
say you
smarter,
don't
but I
think that
think they
Hamas
won't.
would sign on to this? Is that correct?
I would be surprised if they do, though they're under tremendous pressure. I mean,
Yeah.
Netanyahu faces the triple pressure of the military, the public, and Trump. Hamas faces pressure from everyone, absolutely everyone, not least of which the Palestinian people. But I think they may say no.
Let me turn back to David then on this point that Hussein raised, David, which is that a reformed Palestinian Authority is part of this plan. The language leaves the door open for an eventual Palestinian state. Those are both things Netanyahu has opposed. Is this written in a way that gives the Israeli government room to maneuver around that, just to keep saying, well, the PA hasn't met the reforms as they're laid out?
Sure.
But I would say this, and let's, to be fair about it, is that they're front loading here very important things that the world has wanted, the Arab world has wanted, the Muslim world has wanted, which is end the war, surge aid into Gaza, begin reconstruction of Gaza. That is all there. And, as Hussein and I, who know each other for all these decades, knows that if the enemy is the perfect could be the enemy of the good. And when we say nothing is agreed till everything is agreed, in the Middle East, often nothing is agreed. I think what the president's trying to do here is to say, let's just end the war now. Let's release the hostages and Palestinian prisoners. Let's surge the aid. Let's begin reconstruction, create a mechanism, close the door on Gaza annexation for Israel. No forced displacement by anyone. And Gaza for the Gazans, essentially, the whole Riviera concept of Trump, of immigration is clearly, explicitly said this is not what they're trying to do. So I do think that there are a lot of elements here that people would like and that we should get going on.
So I agree with that.
Hussein, I'll just note, I'll give you the last word here. We've got about a minute left. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I think Hamas would be wise to do this, not just from a moral and humanitarian point of view, but politically, it would be the smart play to say yes, or even yes, but, which is what Netanyahu, I think, was planning to say to the original drafts. However, Hamas is not thinking about this in any other terms other than strategically and politically, which is exactly the way Netanyahu was thinking about it. And I think there are things like the Palestinian statehood are not optional for the Gulf countries and others, and especially not for the Palestinians. And Israel must be compelled at some point.
Israel must be compelled at some point. 某种程度上必须迫使以色列采取行动
to recognize that Palestinians have the right to a state. They've never acknowledged that, and they must acknowledge that. And until they do, there's going to be a big problem.
Gentlemen, we will have to leave it there. We hope to have you both on to continue this very important conversation. Hussein Ibish, David Makovsky, thank you so much.
Thank you both. Thank you, David.
Be
Thank
with
you,
you.
Abner.
Thank
Nearly 75% of Israelis support a deal to return all hostages in exchange for ending the war in Gaza, including 60% of Netanyahu coalition voters. 近75%的以色列人支持这达成一项释回所有人质来换取结束加沙战争的协议，其中包括60%支持内塔尼亚胡的选民。